everyone. I'm Matt. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Before we begin, here's a value statement. I don't read it to you guys. It's very similar to Google's. The gist of it is basically be excellent to each other. Try not to talk about politics, religion, money, anything that can be a heated topic. Let's keep it to technology. Feel free to argue about technology, that's okay. Not other stuff. You can always take it outside if you definitely need to talk about politics or something like that. I don't know if there'll be a Brexit update while we're here, but we can always take a break if we need to. If you have any issues and something comes up, feel free to email me, admin@gdgla.org, and we'll figure it out. Before we get there, so with me as always, we got Gerard, our co-organizer, and you got a camera too. Yeah, we got a couple cameras going today, a couple recordings as well. We're gonna post the recording on YouTube. So if you're concerned about being on YouTube, don't speak up, and then you won't be on YouTube. You can always ask questions outside the room if you, for some reason, don't want to be on YouTube. We don't have millions of people watching our videos, so it's not like you're gonna get spotted yet. Yeah, so it's not like you're gonna get spotted or become famous overnight either. So before we begin, I want to thank our sponsors, Victorious, and Ed's going to come up here and tell us a little bit about Victorious. This is where we are today. We're at Victorious. They're gracious enough to let us use their facility. So come on up, tell us a little about what Victorious is. Do you want me to pull up a browser or anything? No.
Maybe that. Right. Hello guys. Thank you for coming for our June meetup. It's probably I think it's a third meetup here at Victorious. We are really glad to provide this space and learn together about what Android has new. So my name is Edward. I work here as an Android developer, and actually a few of us here. If you guys would like to learn more about Victorious or just talk to us, you're welcome after this presentation. So we're going to stay here, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. So Victorious, what we do is we build a mobile platform for media creators. So we have applications on Android and for iOS, and we build applications for our clients. We have currently about 100 apps, and our website getvictorious.com. If you would like, you can go check it out. It has a lot of information. But I don't want to waste more time. And please enjoy the presentations, and let's network at that.
Thank you. A word from our sponsor is never a waste of time. Alright, so just some housekeeping. July 7th, we have a talk from a Googler who works on the AMP project. It's going to be just a block away, General Assembly. Please RSVP for that one because the space is somewhat limited in size, but that should be a really good talk. He's basically in charge of the AMP project, so it should be really good. In the summer, we're working on a Google Cloud Platform sponsored event. So that means that the Google Cloud Platform team at Google will be sponsoring the event. So we don't have as much control over when it will happen and anything like that. Hopefully it'll happen in the summer. And my guess is it would be Firebase themed, but we, again, don't have control over that. They're going to tell us what they want us to do. And then we will choose to do it. And then in the fall, we're actually starting to plan this already. So we're going to have a big DevFest event. So who came to our DevFest event last year? Anybody? Big winner? Yeah. So last fall, we had our first DevFest for LA. It was a one-day event. We started early in the morning. We went until about 6, 5, I don't remember exactly when. And we had all sorts of different talks. We had a hackathon. We had a lot of prizes given away. Last year, we had 120 people, and this year we're hoping to double that. That means we need a lot more planning to be done ahead of time, so we're starting to plan it now, even though it's not scheduled until the September to November time frame. We're still figuring out the date. Yeah?
Can we volunteer?
Yes, so that's what I was getting to. Thank you so much. I did not pay you to say that. So you can volunteer, although I did give you a prize. But you can volunteer, and we would love for you to volunteer. And if you volunteer, you get a 10 for free. So there's a slight charge. Last year we charged $20, $15, I can't remember exactly what we charged to get in, but everyone who went got more than $20 worth of stuff, plus food, and t-shirts and stuff like that. So you get it back, and there's also the knowledge and the fun, all the good stuff. But you can volunteer, and as long as you actually do what you say you're going to volunteer for, you will get in for free. And it's not heavy volunteer work. We're not building anything or manual labor or anything like that. A lot of it is just emails, phone calls, that kind of stuff. It's very simple. We pretty much help you do everything. We just need more people to do it. Things like finding sponsors, finding venues, coordinating that the speaker who says they're going to come is going to actually show up and not fly to some wrong city or something crazy. So we, just little emails basically is the gist of it. So yes, if you want to volunteer, please email me, see me, whatever it takes to get my attention so that we can work that out. Because we need to start planning right away if we're going to have double the people as last year. And the themes this year are going to be Firebase, AMP, and something else that I can't remember. But those are the things that Google will provide us with content for. And then of course everyone is welcome to give their own talk too. Last year we had a great session where members could come and pitch an app that they were working on, or even just an idea if you just had like drawings or something like that. So if there's a project that you're working on and you want to kind of showcase it at the event, let us know. We'll have another session for members to kind of just pitch to each other and to other people at the event. If you're interested in giving a talk, let us know also. We love it when members give talks. It doesn't really matter what the topic is, as long as it's somewhat related to Google technologies. It doesn't have to be Android only, it could be APIs. It can also just be about design in general, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific technology, but concepts and other aspects of the development process that kind of exist outside of the technology are welcome too. That obviously is integral to what we all do. So again, admin@GDGLA, you can reach me or just flag me down, whatever it takes, let me know. We're always interested in members helping out more. Skip the slide. Alright, so we started using this new application that was built actually by a Googler who's in charge of the GDG program for the US. It's just a very simple application that allows you to kind of give some feedback as our speakers are speaking. It's mobile friendly too. And the way it works is that we'll put up a QR code before each speaker. There's also a goo.gl link. And as the speaker is speaking, if you feel so inclined, you can basically vote on these 4 buttons. Go slower, go faster, and yes or no in terms of the content being useful. Not required. We're not going to be, like looking around the room to see who clicked or anything like that. But it's useful for the speakers if there's a slide that was difficult for you to read, or if they're speaking too quickly or too slowly. You can kind of give that feedback, and we can help the person, make the change in the future. So our first talk is from Reed, one of our longtime members. How long have you been a member?
A year.
That's been way more than a year. It's been way more than a year. We can look it up.
Early last year.
Huh?
Early last year.
Was it early last year? I've got an integration with Meetup.com. I can actually find out if you want. I probably should have looked up ahead of time. But yeah, so it's probably more than early last
From
year.
Android TV, right?
You showed up to
Was it last
events before Android TV, didn't you?
I thought so. Maybe I didn't sign up.
It's been a while. It seems forever. We go so, it's like your family. We go so far back. So Reed's going to talk about this app that he built. It's a photo app, and basically from start to finish, he'll talk about how he went through this process. So I put up the goo.gl link up there, as well as the QR code. I'm going to actually do it myself. I'm going to just take out my phone and open up my QR code reader, and just take the picture, and it'll take you to the website. The website, so we've simplified the process. It's just one URL for all of our talks. So it's just rivet.blue/GDGLA talk. That's how you know you're at the right spot. Someone just gave me a go faster. Yeah, so I guess we'll bring Reed up then, since someone wants me to go faster. So Reed, come on over, and I will pull up your slides as well. And we will make these slides available after the meetup. And as I mentioned last time, that's one of the things that we always need help from volunteers to actually uploading the slides. Because by the end of the night, I'm exhausted. You did?
Yeah, I don't want to do anything with it.
Okay, one sec. Alright, well, we'll figure it out after. Alright.
information. I know the name's not very, well, it's self-describing, I guess. And we talk about building it from the ground up. How many people here are Android developers, though? I'm just curious, so I know. Okay. Pretty much everybody. Okay, let me start it off.
Just hit the arrow.
Okay, is it good? Okay, so about me. I'm a professional software developer since 2002, and I work for Discovery Channel right now, so everyone knows that channel, hopefully. And here's my Stack Overflow on there for anyone who wants to see the questions I ask and stuff I do. Alright, so someone asked me to help prototype this app. Basically what they needed were three things. Take pictures using the camera, being able to send these pictures to people automatically, and include the physical address of where this picture was taken. I know you can take a picture with the camera app and select people from your contact list and then submit it that way, but they wanted something that was just, I take a picture and it's just going to send it off and do everything by itself. So, because they're taking a lot of pictures and needs to know the GPS of each picture they take. Is there the thing that tells me if I'm going too fast or too slow? Is that
Don't worry about it. I'll tell you. You're good. Louder though.
Okay. Is this the microphone here? Or is there no
Louder for the room.
Okay. So let me just describe the front end flow, what the app does. You'd open the app, select a contact that you want to send it to, mainly through your contact list. So the app will read your contacts and have that ready to go. So when you start to type someone's name, it'll auto-complete their information. Or if you're sending to someone that's outside of your contact list, you can add it that way. Then it's going to, actually, as soon as you open the app, it's going to try to lock on your location first, because we'll need to know that when we send the picture out. The next piece is taking a picture, and after that, you can either submit some kind of comment with it, which is an option, or if you want to just keep snapping pictures really fast, you can just keep taking pictures as fast as you can take it. It will start to queue up this information and send it out. Let's see this behind the scenes. Okay, so right. First, we have to figure out where we're going to send these pictures to. So the very first screen will ask you, who do you want to send these pictures to? Then it's going to try to locate the location. You'll take the picture. The images are saved temporarily to your external storage. The resize, so they're optimized to send through email. Sent through an intent service, so there's no blocking of anything, and it will either wait till you connect to the Wi-Fi to save on data, since it can eat up your data pretty quickly if you're not. And there's a broadcast receiver that handles pretty much all of your queuing of data if something failed, if you're connecting to Wi-Fi or degradation of your cell data. Okay, so we're going to get to some code examples soon. And these are the permissions that I requested. You need the internet, obviously, network to send it faster through Wi-Fi, camera, storage, your contacts, and the location. So here's what the manifest looks like. Part of it, so that's where you just put all the permissions. The next part is some basic architecture of the app. There is base activity where I'm setting the toolbar, I'm setting analytics, crash reporting. There's the main activity that delegates everything to different fragments, listeners. There's a photo service that handles the processing of the photos and the emails. There's no UI for that, so I just hand it off to that stuff. There's a broadcast receiver handling all the incoming intents. I created a view called Capture View, which is an extension of the Surface View. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Surface View, but and then I also have a bunch of fragments doing a bunch of different things. And here's a cool third-party library that I found for it's called. It's called some kind of chips library. I forgot exactly what it was, but the chips are like what you see in Gmail with your picture, your email address, your name. Basically, it's reading stuff from your contacts and then creating these chips is what they call it.
So the little thing
A little circle, so you have your whatever picture you have saved for your contact, your name, and then behind the scenes there's basically a contact object, so you have your email and phone number. Since I'm using this mainly through email, I just need the email stuff. And here's some code for using that email recipient text view. These slides are available right somewhere.
Yeah, they will be. So what is going on in this code?
Okay, so this one, well, you're finding the view first. You're setting a tokenizer that's tokenizing all the chips. You set an adapter that's going to handle all of those chip UIs. The request focus is so when I open this view, it's going to be the first thing that it selects. So you can start adding more people, deleting more people. You don't have to request focus explicitly. And the dismiss drop down on item selected. When I start typing in something, so if I typed in my name, REI, it will list a bunch of people that have that REI in it, and the moment I select it, it's going to select that and dismiss the drop down. And then for the next part, I'm just looping over something that I have stored locally of all the people that I'm sending that have set up to send information to, and it's going to populate this list, so when I come back to it, it'll be a pre-populated list. And then here's how you would save data. It's really small on this. So I'm basically grabbing all the people that I entered in and storing that in an array. Then, can we go through each one?
Yeah, you know what? Hit escape,
Yeah.
and then you can command plus, and then you zoom in.
Okay.
See if that'll work.
Oh, for me?
And click in the main window though,
Okay. This one.
and now hit.
Oh, okay.
There we go. And maximize the PowerPoint.
Okay. Go back into.
No. Hit the green.
The green
The
top.
green button at the top,
Okay.
to,
Got it.
and now hit Control plus, Command plus again. More. Just keep going until it's like ridiculously big. Keep going,
Oh, okay.
keep going.
Is that good?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay.
And then can you scoot it over to the right a little?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't need the very right. That's
Okay.
okay.
We'll get back into the.
You just leave it like this.
Okay. And just go to the next one.
No.
Oh, you want to
Now
see-
tell us
oh,
what's
okay.
going on. Yeah.
So, so I'm loading the chips array to save, because I'm trying to save this data. So I have like 5 people stored in this. Basically, it's an edit text, and I want to save this data. So I'm going through. I check to see if there's any data to be saved. If there's any, if there is, then I create these recipient entry objects. I add it to the text view, the edit text view. Then it goes through this sorted recipients call. Wait, I don't know why I'm doing this twice. Anyway, towards the end, when we get to this, there's like a recipient entry model, and then there's these chips models, so I have to have some kind of translation between the two to go from displaying it to a model that I have. So it's basically like a translation layer, and I'm adding these chips to this array here, and then once I check to see if there's any chips in this array, I just save it in whatever way you want to save it. I was saving it to shared preferences, but you can do whatever you want.
Do those preferences persist if I close the app and then?
Yeah, it'll just be there.
So
it's just,
you'd have to be careful if I was like sending pictures to you today, but then a week from now I'm like, I forgot, I would be sending pictures to you still.
if you didn't update the who you're sending it to, like the contact list, so it'll
Yeah.
just keep sending it to me until you change it or you delete it, because it won't ask you every time you open the app. It's more like I don't know. You could do it that way. I was more like I'm going to send it to certain people many times. So
And I have to have the app open for this to work. It's on a Surface, right?
what do you mean?
Like you can't just spy on me by taking my phone, I'm not looking, turn on this app and set your name or email address, and now every picture I take will go to you without me knowing it?
He won't tell you
That-
that.
that could,
He does,
yeah.
but he won't tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would do that.
It would do that.
Yeah, it would do that. That's good.
Yeah. You want hit shift F5 now,
Shift F5.
and it'll go back to the regular mode.
What is that array list? Is that some kind of
Apple
traversing?
F5 or
Can you go back to your code again?
Yeah.
What is that? That array list, what is that? Is this a traverse along an array?
Which one? This one?
That array list.
This one?
What is that? That's,
Is it what we're talking about right here?
yeah.
Okay. I'm just creating a new array list, like initializing.
Oh, is that all it is? Oh, okay.
Yep. Sorry. Shift F5?
Or I thought it was shift F5.
Shift F5? Wait.
No, that's not it. Just go to slideshow at the top. There's a menu for slideshow.
Got it.
And then start from here or something like that.
Let's see if this works. It's really not sensitive on this.
Yeah.
I'm like smashing it. Okay, so
This is not good.
okay, the next part that I'm talking about, just talking about different parts of the app. I know it touches upon a lot of things. So this is getting the location. So I don't know if anyone had to work with getting their location on the phone. It seems to be a really good sensor to use. The first thing you do is, well, you have to have the Google Play services enabled. You can do that in your build.gradle. Then there is connecting to the Google APIs, creating a location request. You pass that location request to the API, and you call. Then it will be calling on location change whenever the location changes, and in that callback is where you get your actual location, where you get the longitude, latitude, and do all kinds of stuff with that. And here's some of the code for that. So it's pretty standard. I think I grabbed this directly from the Google Docs. Maybe added some flags in here, but for the most part, this is pretty much how you connect to Google API. Oh, that's pretty big. The next one. And then this is getting the location request. You create this location request that you're going to pass off to the API, telling it how long you want it to check, how frequently, and what's the fastest you want to check. You got to be really careful. If you don't do too much, you're going to drain the battery, and then people won't install your app. But you can kind of play around with this. There's a whole bunch of stuff dealing with the best way to handle this.
What's the difference between set interval and set fastest interval?
Set interval is like every 10, or those are milliseconds, so it's going to do it at that point, but it won't go any faster than 5 seconds.
How could it go faster than 5 seconds if it's only doing it every 10
Well,
seconds?
I think it's like the fused location is other apps are going to, like if you, I don't know what, like Gmail.
It has to be
Google Maps.
at least 5 seconds
At
is the
least
last
5
time it
seconds
was
is the last
done
time.
for anything.
Because I'm all piggybacking off of other
Okay.
requests, so.
And then what's the high accuracy?
It's like fine location, so.
So how fine?
I think it's like 3 meters, 5 meters. I want it as fine as possible,
Yeah.
so, because I just like to know exactly where this picture is.
And is it a lat long that you get?
You'll get like a whole location object, and then they'll have lat long, and then from there you can pass it on to another service, which will return it with like a address, like a readable address, and state, all that kind of stuff. This is the screenshot I sent you though. I don't know.
We'll pull it up.
Are you pulling it up? I realize this isn't as good without like a real demo, but it's. And then this is where you pass this into. The fused location API is what I'm using because it's going to try to use your GPS or your cell tower or Wi-Fi. It's going to handle all that stuff by itself to figure out what's the best way for you and handle getting your location. And the next piece is the camera. This is a major piece of the app. It's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. I could have used a chooser, a camera intent, but I needed to have more ingrained control over the camera itself. I couldn't just take a picture and pass it back to my activity. I wanted to actually have the camera open and do a bunch of stuff with that. So that's why I did it this way. This is for camera V1. V2's out. I know camera V1's kind of getting deprecated, but at the time, this is what I was using. So, is this big enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I think people can understand what's going on, but I'll just kind of go over real quick. You need to get a reference to the camera the surface view. We had a callback to this class, so whenever you take a picture, it's going to call back in here. I open the camera, and the camera ID is essentially it's going to be either the front-facing camera or the rear-facing camera. I have some options to use both. That's why that's there. And I tell the camera to write basically on the surface view here, and we start the camera by calling start preview. So that'll make basically what you see when you open the camera app. See.
So if you're using the app and you open the camera, you take a picture, but then like you get a phone call, and so now you're not in the app, and I then open up my camera separately. Will it still be sending the pictures?
If you open your camera app on your own phone, it'll be just its own thing.
Camera. Okay.
Yeah. So, and here's the other part, taking the picture. So we have this callback, and this is back to where was it? The callback to this. This is the callback that it's going to use. This new picture callback. It's part of the camera V1. So you would take a picture, and that's whenever someone hits the shutter button or whatever you want to have. Basically, when you use the camera API, you're basically in charge of all this stuff. And anything like taking a picture, using the flash. So when someone takes a picture, you'll call this callback, and then from here it'll give you a byte array of all the data of that picture, and you can do whatever you need with that. For me, I would save it temporarily, or you can save the original untouched. I resize it and sample it down so it can be sent out through an email, and the next part is actually the email. So I'm using javax.mail. You can work with Yahoo, any kind of POP account, Gmail, but you create the my message, create a data handler, you set the sender, who you want to send it from, the recipients, who these people are, who the messages are going to, and then the next part is just sending the message. And it's pretty straightforward. There's only 5 lines of code, and yeah, it's pretty much easy to do. I do this in a service, so it doesn't. I don't have to wait for anything. Like if it gets sent out, great. If it doesn't, I submit notifications to let the users know if it was successful or not. And here's the app at the top. There's a short link for that, and then there's another app that I wrote, so I thought I'd throw it up there as well.
Can you go back to the slide?
Yeah.
So you don't have to authenticate? Like I said,
There's some authentication in there as well, yeah, but I just didn't want to bore everyone with like 1,000 lines of code. But this is just the bulk of it. You have the authentication set up, which is really easy. It's just basically storing your password in there.
And so are you sending one email per
You
photo?
can send one, or you could send multiple. So it's just an option in that.
Oh, it's an option.
Yeah. I just didn't have it on this one. This is just a simple example of showing sending one picture to one person. And so this is links, and then I guess it's just questions. Anyone? No?
Questions? You want to pull up that screenshot? We can try to pull it up.
I emailed it to you.
Yeah, I know. I did.
Okay.
My email's on the
Oh,
computer.
okay.
Let's see. As long as everyone's gonna see my email. But
30 minutes.
Let's take a picture. Yeah, it is. The problem is if you open the window, then you get sound. I mean, you still get the sound either way. But okay, so this is a screenshot.
So this is what I took from the app, and it'll be coming from whatever email you want it to come from. So I just picked that. Here's the link to a map of where the picture's taken, and then this is the, from getting the location, I translate that into human readable street addresses. And then here's the picture down here.
You need a space after the comma.
Alright, thank you. Thank you for
No
that.
problem. Do I get credits now? Like Easter
Maybe.
egg?
Couldn't you just get the location data off the XF data of the photo?
You could if they have that set up, but
But the address you'd have to
So
Right.
okay.
Yeah. Just to be like, people, no one's gonna know what those longitude, latitude coordinates are, but okay.
Did you use the new permission model or the old one?
That's a good question because originally I didn't use it, and then I got bit when I tried to run it on Marshmallow, but then I had to change that back up. So at this version it is.
It does.
Yeah.
So if they don't grant for some of the permission, it's limited.
Yeah. Then it probably won't work, and it will fail poorly.
Usually, what kind of notifications you give if they decline some permission?
Well, if you decline the camera, then it'll just be a blank screen. You'll never see anything, and then basically the app will be unusable at that point. But if you deny the camera, then it's pretty much useless.
You have a try catch somewhere here.
You sent all your email through a service.
Mhm.
So you said when an error happens, you pop a notification.
Oh, there'll be just a notification builder, so it'll say, oh, this one failed.
So like if it was like a really awesome photo I wanted to send,
Yeah.
but it failed, is there like a way to recover that photo and retry or like?
Yeah,
how does that work?
there's I should have put none of that. It'll say like tap to retry, and it'll try to resend it. It's saved on your phone too until it actually sends it, and then then it will be either deleted, or if you have it saving the original, the original will be there no matter what. So you can just go to your gallery and see it there. But yeah.
So does it delete the files?
After it sends, if you save original, it'll save that original one. It makes a copy of that one, resizes that down, so you can send an email. And after the email is sent, then it'll delete that, and then it'll just so you won't run out of space that way.
Any other questions? I got one for you. Okay, cool. So I will do my best to upload this.
Thank you.
Later. Thank you, Reed. And feel free to install his apps and +1 them and stuff like that. Can't hurt. Just remember to turn it off so you don't send all your pictures to him. Alright.
Turn it back on by itself.
Yeah. Well, you'd also have to set up his email as the person you're sending it to, though. So.
We'll do that through the air.
Yeah. Alright, save that. And bring it back. There we go. Okay, so if anyone needs to use the restroom, which restroom are we sending them to today? Use it. Figure it out. There's one down the hall, there's another one like halfway down the stairs. We'll take like a let's say 5-minute break. There's also plenty of pizza and drinks and dessert, if anyone's interested. And then we'll come back in 5 minutes. If it gets too loud, we'll try to play with it. The guy was not playing a minute.
I know, like 2 seconds ago, right?
Yeah.
You can get us in one of those.
You got an extra audience since I was playing now.
Santa Monica, yeah, I know, yeah. So, okay, so Pratouche spoke last time, right? He's an Android developer here at Victorious, and so we're very lucky we have basically a room full of experts to speak to us. Today, you're going to be speaking about a library called Butterknife, and also the prepackaged data binding available on Android. Yeah, okay, I got it. Okay, so let's give him a hand.
Yeah, so I let it.
Flip it. Oh, I guess we can do this first. Yeah.
Oh, so.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
It's a shame, man. They're so
That should be
We need to leave there. Pretty much. He's like very strong. So we don't even know him. He was like solid. Why was he not? Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, he's okay. Advisor's updated. Your advisor? You can view your phone.
Alright, so,
Yeah.
oh, you're good, okay.
Yeah. So, hello everyone.
Hi.
Yeah. So, today I'll be talking about Android data binding and how we can use it to build Android apps faster. So, before diving in, I like to ask you a few questions like how many of you like to use find view by ID or either get resources, get drawables, and even enable or disable views using alpha or enable view listeners or even attach listeners. So how many of you like this writing this boilerplate code? No, not everyone. Yep. I was expecting this because even I hate writing this boilerplate code. So the image that you see here is from the Facebook Messenger app. What do you think? How many views are here in this screenshot? 10, 15? At least 15. Yeah. So how much time of a developer would go in just writing the boilerplate code to attach these views, like by calling find view by ID, even attach the listeners and attach the text watcher for the edit text, and even getting the string resources. I think it would be more than 30 lines of code, and it's pain when you want to change the color of the images or even set alpha, and when the requirements changes, it's really a pain. Like the developer need to go back to the boilerplate code and make changes. So and it's difficult to maintain in the long run. So there are few libraries in the market that I think we can use to tackle this problem. One of these is Butterknife, which is used for view and resource binding, and it is being written by Square. Jake Warden is a developer who is at Square, and he wrote that library. So what can we do with this Butterknife library? We can bind the views by calling the annotation bind view annotation instead of calling find view by ID. We can even attach the listeners by calling on click annotation, and it's an icing on cake. You can even bind the resources. You can bind the color resources, strings, or drawables. So I'll take you through a sign-in fragment code that I wrote. It contains 2 edit texts, and there are 2 buttons, sign in and sign up button. Whenever you enter an email and a password which has a character length of greater than 6, the sign in button gets enabled, and even it changes the alpha of that email, of the sign in button. So let's see how I bind this view and how I attach these resources, the string resources, and attach on-click listener using Butterknife. So here is the code. I think it's kind of. I'll just try to minimize the image. Okay. Yep. So this is the sign-in fragment that I wrote. You can see that I'm just using annotations, providing it the resource ID of the resources, maybe even if it's string or any view, or the ID to attach an on-click listener. I'm just doing it using annotation. No find view by ID, no anonymous inner classes for on-click listeners. This code is just readable and easy to maintain. It's all these listeners and views are being attached on a single place. So looking at this, it feels nice. Okay, we can attach resources and views. But as a developer, I want something more. What if I'm able to use an expression to change the alpha of an image, to attach, to make the views visible or invisible depending on some preconditions. And it will be really nice if I am able to attach the edit text change listener, the text watcher, or even the edit actions whenever I click on done button in my keyboard. So let's talk about model view model and how I used it to write a simple sign-in app using Android data binding. So what is model view model? It's an architectural pattern more similar to MVP that we saw previous month, but there are subtle differences between MVP and model view model. The views here are the XML layouts and even the activities and fragments. The views attach the commands or listeners, the commands that need to be called from the view model. So the view model actually has all the listeners, the text watchers, and even edit actions. The view just knows what kind of listeners or watchers the view needs to call, and the view model sends the notification on this when these actions complete. The view model in turn updates the model about any data changes, and the model validates this data and passes back the result to the view model. The subtle difference that we need to that is between MVVM and MVP is the view model contains Android framework related code, which wasn't there in Model View Presenter. That's why the Model View Presenter is kind of robust. But with Android data binding, Model View model is being widely used. There are a lot of developers using this, and you can Google it and see really good examples of the apps written with it. So the screenshot here is about the sample app that I'll be showing you, and I'll take you through the code. So the text, the edit text, the sign in button and the sign up button all go inside the view. All are inside the XML layouts. The edit text watchers and the click listener for the email and password and sign in and sign up button live in the view model. I have a sign in view model for this, and there is a simple sign in model which contains two strings, email and password. So moving forward, we'll just see the example. Whenever we enter a valid email and password, it changes the color of the sign in button, and we'll just go through some code so you are more aware of how the Android data binding works. So to enable Android data binding, there are some prerequisites. You need to have Android Gradle plugin 1.5 and above. The second prerequisite is you need to go into the build.gradle file and enable the data binding element. So after that, here is the XML layout file that I have written. You'll see a few differences here. There is no root layout, linear layout at the top of the XML file, but there is some new element called layout. This new XML element is being added by the Android developers, so the compiler knows this XML file will be used for data binding. So it's not a regular XML file, but it's something that's going to be used for data binding. There are two more XML elements, XML types added. Those are data. So data tells the compiler, like, okay, there would be some data related to the binding that we'll use later in the XML file. And then there is variable. Variable is just simple. I'm naming in, I'm instantiating a sign-in view model. Like, okay, I'm telling the compiler there is a sign-in view model that I'll be using, and I'm naming it as view model. And then comes our root element, which is a linear layout. You can see there are two edit texts, and there are two buttons. For simplicity, I've added all the other XML code related to layout in the styles file. So you won't see any wrap content or any color information about the buttons. So there are two edit texts and two buttons. The edit text are being attached the text watchers. So whenever a user types in an email and password, the view gets notified about those changes. So, and you can see that there is an @ symbol with two curly braces, and it contains the name of the view model, followed by the method get email text watcher. This is called as an expression in the new Android data binding jargon, and I'm also using this expression on the sign in button. So we just check if the input is valid, set the alpha to 1.0, otherwise just disable that. I'm also using this expression to enable the sign in button. So the same kind of, and I'm also attaching click listeners for both sign in and sign up button. So moving forward, now I'll show you how I'm using this XML file in the sign-in fragment. So this is the sign-in fragment. We are inflating the XML file that we saw in the similar way what we used to do, what we are doing right now. But I'm also adding a single line of statement to bind this layout and set my view model. So if you see the fragment sign-in DB binding class is being generated by the Android data binding compiler, and the class name is generated according to the file name. So my XML file has had this name, fragment underscore sign and sign-in underscore in underscore DB. And so it just stripped off the underscores and it created that class. So I'm just binding the layout to that class, telling it, okay, you need to bind data for this view, and I'm also passing it the view model. So the view model variable that we declare will use this sign-in view model. You can also go through the fragment sign-in DB binding class generated by the Android compiler, and but you need to clean and build the app if you want to see this class. And this class is pretty lengthy, and Android asked us not to change anything inside this class. It's like the resources, Android resources file. We don't need to change anything inside the class. But it's really useful to know what kind of listeners are there, and what kind of methods this class provides to infect the layouts and even bind the views. It's really helpful, and you can learn a lot from this.
Does view model have to extend from anything?
Does view model have to have a base class? Is there a base view model class?
The view model, no.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it can be any class, and you can just provide it as a variable. You can even use views. The Android built-in view classes, you can use those also. So here is the sign-in view model. So I have a sign-in model class here with the data listener. I am creating the sign-in model class in the constructor, and just assigning these default values for email and password. And then we have these text watchers, and if you remember, we use this text watcher in our XML file by just calling viewModel.get email text watcher and get password text watcher. I also have the sign-in click methods that we used in the XML file by calling viewModel.onSignInClick. So these sign-in click methods just don't do anything but call the data listener, which is implemented by the fragment, and it just spits out the toast message. And it's similar with the on sign up click.
So in this case, you had 2 text inputs.
Yes.
What if the form was longer? Is there a way to make more of a dynamic watcher that it kind of says, here's the value, and by the way, here's the field, and that way you don't have to set a separate watcher for each one?
Yeah, you can do that way also.
Yeah.
But just for simplicity, I just took these 2 watchers.
Okay.
And I am calling sign-in model dot set email, passing it the string. Same for the password.
Yeah.
I'm passing it the password. So now we'll go to the sign-in model. As you can see, there are only these 2 fields, email and password. But the most important thing to consider is I am extending a base observable. So why am I extending base observable? Because it's just email and password here. I am extending it to tell my view that okay, I got a new email string in my set email, and just check if there are any views that need to be enabled for on click, or if there are some views that need to be made visible. So that's why I need to extend the base observable class. And the method that I call to tell my view to look for these field changes is notify change. So notify change actually notifies for any field change in my model. So even if it's email or password, all field changes are being notified. You can do it alternatively. So if I want to notify only about the set email change, I will use the bindable notation, and instead of notify change, I'll call notify property change, and I'll just pass in what kind of property. Yeah. So it's an infill, but this is just an example. So I can make it more fine grained. So and so you can, and there is also an input data value method that we use, that the sign-in button uses to enable or disable the sign-in button. With that, I'll try to show you how the app works and then I'll also take you through some unit tests that I've written. I have this app working for both butter knife and data binding. So I'll just show you in a quick moment. So either you can launch butter knife or you can launch DB for data binding. BK for butter knife and DB for data binding. You can launch any app. If you launch butter knife, you will see the same UI. And it's only that it's using butter knife, but not Android data binding. And if you go back, launch data binding, you will have the same UI. So I'll just try to type in my email address and password. The password needs to be more than 6 characters. Wow, the sign-in button got enabled. Now, yeah, so visor is somehow, I'm not sure if it's propagating, yeah. So, yeah, so that's how it is. Even a small change notifies the views about what it needs to do. So even if I change my email, it will check for invalidation. Okay, this is not an invalid email, and it will disable the sign in button. Again, it enables that. So
you were using on change?
yes, yeah. So notify change. I'm using notify change.
No, for back on the layout, I think it was. It's not. It's I mean, to me, it looks more like a key up in HTML. Because it's in HTML on change would be when you finish typing and it goes somewhere else.
Oh
And here
no.
it's-
So yeah. So what I'm doing here is for every character type in,
yeah.
I'm sending it to the model for every text change, and then the model tells the view that the data has been changed, the email or password, and then it tries to either enable or disable sign-in button. Because as soon as the password goes from 6 character length to 7, I need to enable the sign-in button.
Right.
And if the user deletes any character from the password, and if it falls below that range, I need to disable it. So to get that fine-grained control, I'm passing in every text change.
Just because I get burned by this regularly, how are you validating the email address?
Oh yes, so I have an is input data valid method here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just calling is valid email, passing it the character sequence.
Right.
And
What is valid email?
yeah. So is valid email will just check if there is at gmail.com or at. So it's just
Right.
checking.
So it's built into Android, that pattern. That's,
Yeah,
that's what I did.
That's what.
Yeah. It's still in Android.
So my
But-
email address is thisguy.codes, and like I can't make an Apple ID because they're like, oh, that's not a valid email address, and I can't unsubscribe from the time I'm okay. So
Wait, you don't have an at symbol in your email address?
no, but my domain is thisguy.codes.
Oh, I see.
.com, there's no
Yeah, yeah,
org,
yeah.
there's no info.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I can't make an Apple ID. And I'm on
So-
sending.
Yeah. So I am using the. Yeah. I know that.
Yeah, getting your address.
They're releasing more.
Yeah. So basically, you should buy. Can you buy this guy?
No, I think I'll have to ask the Android guys to change the Android utility pattern for email address matchup. But yeah, so that's how it is. But I'm not using. I'm just using the Android utility for matching up the email address. So it's all inbuilt, and we are not doing like I'm not sending this request to some server. It's just a sample app. And signing. So let's go through the simple unit test, JUnit test that I wrote. So first we'll go through the sign-in view model test. So I'm just testing the data listener to check if the view gets called. Whenever there is some, whenever the sign-in completes or the sign-up completes. So I just call the data listener and verify how many times the on sign-in completed for the view gets called, and how many times the on sign-up click gets called. That's how I try to test on click. The most interesting part right now is to test the sign-in model because it extends the base observable class and we call notify change. I need to test in some way whether the view gets notified of any email or password changes. So I just set up a property change callback. I just mock it and I pass it to the add on property change callback, which is inside the base observable class. Because my sign-in model DB is a base observable, I pass my property change callback for it for the future references. And then I try to set up my email at test@test.com and verify if my property change callback was called only one time, and on the property change sign in model DB and BR all. So as I said you earlier, we are using notify change. So for any field that changes, the BR all stands for all the fields. So if you add bindable, like the base observable for more specific fields, you will get that here in the BR class. And this class is generated by the Android compiler, like when you build the app. So you need to clean and build that app. So, and I do the same for the password. I set the password, and now I check whether it's called twice, because earlier I called it for email, and now it should get called for the password. So it said it's being set twice. So I'm just checking that, and yeah, and that's it. Unfortunately, it runs. So I just try to run this simple.
Is there a method on base observable where you can just notify a single property change?
Yes, yes,
And that BR class just generates,
yes.
does it like annotate the field or anything like that, or like,
Yeah.
do you have to like annotate the field, let's say I have a field called like email.
Yes.
Annotate the field to like, for it to generate in BR? Like,
Yes, yes. So you need to annotate the method for that field
Okay.
with add bindable, and you need to add notify property change with the ID of that property.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, so this test case is run. I have this example on the GitHub, and I've also provided the link in the presentation. So if you want to try this, try the Android data binding using model view model, you are always welcome. We'll go through and summarize our talk. So with view bindings and data bindings, there is less boilerplate code, and it's the code is more readable and more maintainable. Less developer time spent in writing this boilerplate code. MVVM can also help us to separate the business logic, but as I told you, it's not as perfect as model view presenter. So view model does contain some Android framework code, which most of us don't like to be. We don't want that to be in the view model. Writing unit tests is much easier, as I showed you 2 JUnit tests, and it was much easier because there is this separation of concern. And also Android Studio sometimes shows valid expressions as errors, and I'll show you the example. Can you see the red expression? There is a query in the Android Studio. I'm using Android Studio 2.1 and Gradle build plugin 1.5. But I think there are some changes in Gradle plugin 2. So hopefully if you guys use that, you won't go through this problem. The another problem that any question? Yeah. So the another problem I saw is the lack of autocomplete when I'm using data binding. So if there is no autocomplete, and if there are very used model classes or view model classes written by some other developer or your peer, you can get lost. You'll have to go back and forth the classes and try to see the data binding. Yeah, so these were some problems, and I hope like you all use Android data binding. And that's it from me, and I'm waiting for this.
So I kind of have a question. I'm actually a front-end guy who just recently started doing Azure development, and like we see these kind of like data binding models. We saw them in like frameworks like Knockout and something like that.
Yes.
Front-end land. But you know, like recently we've seen trends like, oh, you know, data binding, you know, was good to get started off, but then you know, it made the app, you know, as more and more people use it, build larger apps. They said, oh, data binding is actually, you know, more difficult to maintain because now you don't know where state is being mutated, right?
Yeah.
That introduced the whole like React, you need data flow.
Yes.
And I see this like data binding library or this kind of paradigm of doing data binding. Do you think that's an issue that's going to be, or do you think that's going to be an issue on mobile as well? Like what are the differences? Unless I'm like totally mistaken.
Yes, I think that would be an issue because I've seen few examples where people don't use MVVM but directly use model in view, and their models for any update, instead of passing it through the view model, directly pass it to the view. So I think there may be these problems.
So is the problem just the way they design people design the app, or is there? I don't want to say it's a problem, but is this like a concern that you might have to think about with data binding? Like if I today choose to invest my Android development into these data binding libraries, you know, what are some things I need to be concerned about, right? So like people back then thought like, oh, data binding is awesome because I can update the view here, and then like in my JavaScript, the thing I'm referring to is automatically updated as well. But it only became obvious that that's not such a good idea because you don't know, did the thing change from the code or did the thing change because of user input, and there's no like traceability in front end stuff.
Yes.
So like, is that something of concern in mobile? Because I'm not sure.
So how do you find solutions to that?
The solution is to use some kind of an architecture pattern. So so the view doesn't get updated from everywhere inside the code. But unfortunately, I don't think that's being done using Android data binding because the views get updated from the models. So as soon as the model gets updated, it passes, like it notifies the views that okay, there is some change.
I see. So you're saying that this is a cool tool, but like we might still need to put a little bit more thought into architecting the data flow between your code and your
Yes.
And like when you run into problems, where are the solutions at?
Yeah. So when I was going through this Android data binding tutorial by and there is a talk, Google I/O talk. I was going through the video, and they were not using any view model. So they had this view with all these listeners, and whenever they updated the user model, they had this model called user with username and email and age. So whenever they updated the user model, it notified the views, and all these Android listeners and text watchers went into the fragment or activity, and that's what we don't want. We want some business logic separation, and that's where the view model or presenter comes in place. Yes, but it's still it's still very naive, and there is a lot of I think there is need of lot of improvement. As you said, we may come up with more problems like this.
It also doesn't work well with immutable objects. Like your objects has no setters. You're never gonna get changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
So you spend time coding.
Yeah. Yes. But there are some it's like you get best of both worlds.
I know. After a while, it gets easy. After sometimes it just gets. It's like stop. I'll start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Could you show the butternut version? You introduce
in
username
the
password. Yeah, you introduce username password with the binding.
Right now.
I don't remember saying
Yeah.
that. I'm just curious if it behaves differently or
I
slower.
won't
So
put the wrong.
going back,
Yeah.
I launched the butternut app. So I type in the password, and for your information, I've used MVP to write the butternut app. So in our previous talk, there was a question whether we can use butternut and write an MVP app, and where would butternut fit in this MVP pattern, so it fits into the group. Yeah. So this app is being written using MVP, and I type in the password. It's more than 6 characters. It enables the sign-in button. It disables that. I can click on sign up. You can see the sign up click and sign in completed. It behaves the same way. Both apps are same. The UI is same. The implementation is different.
So you had, when we said earlier, maybe it's 3 lines of code if you did it yourself. I'm just curious, you know, if you look into butter knife, how many lines of code is
This
there?
one hours.
The library itself. No, I haven't seen into butter knife like how many lines of
Yeah.
code.
These miles.
It's
But,
a lot. It basically like generates an adapter class for every single file that binds,
Yeah.
and it's pretty long. And it's already a class like per binding as well.
Okay. So size-wise, you're increasing size. Then.
Yeah, but I don't think it's monolithic. It's just like because they only bind views and resources. They don't do a hell lot of stuff related to recycler views or list or.
Okay.
You know, the on-click, is there any problems with that?
I didn't face any problem with on.
Yeah, because it seems so easy. I haven't really been using it yet, but I'm starting to try it, yeah.
Yeah, but we need to pass the view to the on-click method.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why can't you just use the method of finding the length of the field to make sure it's 6? Because you want the button to show up only at 6, right?
Yes, but I am also taking for the email. So if it's a valid email and not just numbers or characters.
You can only check for an @ sign, basically. Yeah.
No,
look for.
There was a pattern.
Oh yeah, that's
there.
right. Yeah. Then you have to go for the dot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I want both to be valid.
Yeah.
Even
You
here.
both have to be valid.
Actually, do you want to test your email address real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so were they both using that same pattern for
Yes,
validation?
both.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's test it out.
Yeah, let's go. Let's a couple. Let's put
So
some.
you gotta bring up the app.
I
You
can
bring up
see
the
that.
app real quick.
Oh, okay.
And he'll type in his email address. We'll see if it works. Just
Oh,
out
I've
of
got a
curiosity.
couple. You're gonna love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, you can just type in.
this is the one I actually use.
Yeah, it's working.
All right. All right. So
It's a fairly simple model. It's
Yeah.
just at something dot something.
but I've got a much more exotic one,
Alright.
Walmart.
and I apologize in advance if this offends anyone, but it's not that bad. It says Martin Luther King Jr. Black Friday. So,
It works.
yeah.
Yeah, one with Donald Trump in it.
No, but I do own the Trump Towers GitHub organization, so that's a
He's gonna sue you.
Oh, man.
So any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, because I'm not too familiar with these libraries, do they introduce any like performance or like overheads or anything with these data mining libraries? Have you tested?
I haven't verified it on the large production code, but just by writing sample apps. So
It's got computer text.
I mean, they're all generating code at
Yeah,
runtime,
so-
so it's not like you're gonna runtime hit.
It's not faster than the find people ID, right? It says
I think it's more simple. So and that's what it is. Yeah. But I'm not sure if it's more faster.
I think at that point it's like something really doesn't have
very
But yeah, like I think it may take some time when you build the app using data binding because the build system needs to generate these new classes. Yeah, so it may take time, but I'm not sure. Like it may be some milliseconds or seconds more. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Well, man, we run a battery for him. Yeah. So if I want to do it,
Okay.
can't do it. I sometimes I go to the library and try and put it in. I'm gonna cancel it. So we'll start.
Yeah, that's over now.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like,
Okay.
I'll go home and do it.
So, let's go back
I
on
can't.
Alan's not
I'll
here.
film myself. I can see it.
All right. So once again, let's thank our sponsor, Victorious.
Oh,
for letting us be here.
We built a mobile platform for media creators. So we have applications on Android and for iOS, and we build applications for our clients. We have currently about 100 apps, and a website, victorious.com. If you would like, you can go check it out. It has a lot of information. But I don't want to waste more time. And please enjoy the presentations, and let's network at that.
Thank you. A word from our sponsor is never a waste of time. Alright, so just some housekeeping. July 7th, we have a talk from a Googler who works on the AMP project. It's going to be just a block away, General Assembly. Please RSVP for that one because the space is somewhat limited in size, but that should be a really good talk. He's basically in charge of the AMP project, so it should be really good. In the summer, we're working on a Google Cloud Platform sponsored event. So that means that the Google Cloud Platform team at Google will be sponsoring the event. So we don't have as much control over when it will happen and anything like that. Hopefully it'll happen in the summer. And my guess is it would be Firebase themed, but we, again, don't have control over that. They're going to tell us what they want us to do. And then we will choose to do it. And then in the fall, we're actually starting to plan this already. So we're going to have a big DevFest event. So who came to our DevFest event last year? Anybody? Big winner? Yeah. So last fall we had our first DevFest for LA. It was a one-day event. We started early in the morning. We went till about 6, 5, I don't remember exactly when. And we had all sorts of different talks. We had a hackathon. We had a lot of prizes given away. Last year we had 120 people, and this year we're hoping to double that. That means we need a lot more planning to be done ahead of time, so we're starting to plan it now, even though it's not scheduled until the September to November timeframe. We're still figuring out the date. Yeah?
Can we volunteer?
Yes, so that's what I was getting to. Thank you so much. I did not pay you to say that. So you can volunteer, although they give you a prize. But you can volunteer, and we. All right. Hi everyone. I'm Matt. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Before we begin, here's a value statement. I don't read it to you guys. It's very similar to Google's. The gist of it is basically be excellent to each other. Try not to talk about politics, religion, money, anything that can be a heated topic. Let's keep it to technology. Feel free to argue about technology, that's okay. Not other stuff. You can always take it outside if you definitely need to talk about politics or something like that. I don't know if there'll be a Brexit update while we're here, but we can always take a break if we need to. If you have any issues and something comes up, feel free to email me, admin@gdgla.org, and we'll figure it out. Before we get there, so with me as always, we got Gerard, our co-organizer, and you got a camera too. Yeah, we got a couple cameras going today, a couple recordings as well. We're gonna post the recording on YouTube. So if you're concerned about being on YouTube, don't speak up, and then you won't be on YouTube. You can always ask questions outside the room if you, for some reason, don't want to be on YouTube. We don't have millions of people watching our videos, so it's not like you're gonna get spotted yet. Yeah, so it's not like you're gonna get spotted or become famous overnight either. So before we begin, I want to thank our sponsors, Victorious, and Ed's going to come up here and tell us a little bit about Victorious. This is where we are today. We're at Victorious. They're gracious enough to let us use their facility. So come on up, tell us a little about what Victorious is. Do you want me to pull up a browser or anything? No.
Maybe that. Right. Hello guys. Thank you for coming for our June meetup. It's probably I think it's a third meetup here at Victorious. We are really glad to provide this space and learn together about what Android has new. So my name is Edward. I work here as an Android developer, and actually a few of us here. If you guys would like to learn more about Victorious or just talk to us, you're welcome after this presentation. So we're going to stay here, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. So at Victorious, what we do is...
we started using this new application that was built actually by a Googler who's in charge of the GDG program for the US. It's just a very simple application that allows you to kind of give some feedback as our speakers are speaking. It's mobile friendly too. And the way it works is that we'll put up a QR code before each speaker. There's also a goo.gl link. And as the speaker is speaking, if you feel so inclined, you can basically vote on these 4 buttons. Go slower, go faster, and yes or no in terms of the content being useful. Not required. We're not going to be, like looking around the room to see who clicked or anything like that. But it's useful for the speakers if there's a slide that was difficult for you to read, or if they're speaking too quickly or too slowly. You can kind of give that feedback, and we can help the person, make the change in the future. So our first talk is from Reed, one of our longtime members. How long have you been a member?
A year.
That's been way more than a year. It's been way more than a year. We can look it up.
Early last year.
Huh?
Early last year.
Was it early last year? I've got an integration with Meetup.com. I can actually find out if you want. I probably should have looked up ahead of time. But yeah, so it's got to be more than early last year.
From Android TV, right?
You showed up to events before Android TV, didn't you?
I thought so. Maybe I didn't sign up.
It's been a while. It seems forever. We go so, it's like your family. We go so far back. So Reed's going to talk about this app that he built. It's a photo app, and basically from start to finish, he'll talk about how he went through this process. So I put up the goo.gl link up there, as well as the QR code. I'm going to actually do it myself. I'm going to just take out my phone and open up my QR code reader, and just take the picture, and it'll take you to the website. The website, so we've simplified the process. It's just one URL for all of our talks. So it's just rivet.blue/GDG LA talk. That's how you know you're at the right spot. Someone just gave me a go faster. Yeah, so I guess we'll bring Reed up then, since someone wants me to go faster. So Reed, come on over, and I will pull up your slides as well. And we will make these slides available after the meetup. And as I mentioned last time, that's one of the things that we always need help from volunteers, is actually uploading the slides. Because by the end of the night, I'm exhausted. You did?
Yeah, I don't want to do anything with it.
Okay, one sec. Alright, well, we'll figure it out after.
Alright.
Oh, here, give me mine.
Alright, I like a nice spot for it. Okay, get situated here. Okay, well, I'm Reed. I've been a member for, I don't know, I guess a year, maybe longer, supposedly. So I'm going to talk about this app that I made. It's called Photo Location. I know the name's not very, well, it's self-describing, I guess. And maybe talk about building it from the ground up. How many people here are Android developers, though? I'm just curious, so I know. Okay, pretty much everybody. Okay, let me start it off. Just hit the arrow. Okay, is that good? Okay, so about me. I'm a professional software developer since 2002, and I work for Discovery Channel right now, so everyone knows that channel, hopefully. And here's my Stack Overflow on there for anyone who wants to see the questions I ask and stuff I do. Alright, so someone asked me to help prototype this app. Basically what they needed were 3 things. Take pictures using the camera, being able to send these pictures to people automatically, and include the physical address of where this picture was taken. I know you can take a picture with the camera app and select people from your contact list and then submit it that way, but they wanted something that was just, I take a picture and it's just going to send it off and do everything by itself. So, because they're taking a lot of pictures and needs to know the GPS of each picture they take. Is there a thing that tells me if I'm going too fast or too slow?
Don't worry about it, I'll tell you.
I would love for you to volunteer, and if you volunteer, you get a 10 for free. So there's a slight charge. Last year we charged $20, $15, I can't remember exactly what we charged to get in, but everyone who went got more than $20 worth of stuff. plus food and t-shirts and stuff like that. So you get it back, and there's also the knowledge and the fun, all the good stuff. But you can volunteer, and as long as you actually do what you say you're going to volunteer for, you will get in for free. And it's not heavy volunteer work. We're not building anything or manual labor or anything like that. A lot of it is just emails, phone calls, that kind of stuff. It's very simple. We pretty much help you do everything. We just need more people to do it. Things like finding sponsors, finding venues, coordinating that the speaker who says they're going to come is going to actually show up and not fly to some wrong city or something crazy. So we, just little emails basically is the gist of it. So yes, if you want to volunteer, please email me, see me, whatever it takes to get my attention so that we can work that out. Because we need to start planning right away if we're going to have double the people as last year. And the themes this year are going to be Firebase, AMP, and something else that I can't remember. But those are the things that Google will provide us with content for. And then of course everyone is welcome to give their own talk too. Last year we had a great session where members could come and pitch an app that they were working on, or even just an idea if you just had like drawings or something like that. So if there's a project that you're working on and you want to kind of showcase it at the event, let us know. We'll have another session for members to kind of just pitch to each other and to other people at the event. If you're interested in giving a talk, let us know also. We love it when members give talks. It doesn't really matter what the topic is, as long as it's somewhat related to Google technologies. It doesn't have to be Android only, it could be APIs. It can also just be about design in general, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific technology, but concepts and other aspects of the development process that kind of exist outside of the technology are welcome too. That's obviously is integral to what we all do. So again, admin@GDGLA, you can reach me or just flag me down. Whatever it takes, let me know. We're always interested in members helping out more. Skip the slide. Alright, so